alarm hasn't gone off yet. Todd always
Yeah,
answers
we're
my
at
alarm.
59. Get the alarm, and I'll check YouTube, make sure it's live. Which, October 1st. We are recording.
I stopped the alarm.
Oh, okay.
You ready to go?
I was like- Good evening. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2024. I'd like to call the regular Board of Selectmen's meeting to order.
Linda Grappo.
Troy Lemire.
Paul Marino.
Paul Harrington.
Todd Archelashi.
Glenn Albanesius.
William Hester.
William Pozo.
Selectwoman Perez is ill tonight, so she is excused. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, agenda review.
Mr. Mayor, I do have an item I would hope that the board could add to tonight's agenda, and I apologize for its late coming on. I'd like to talk about a housing authority appointment. It's of urgent matter, and we can get into details if this board can so add it to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to add that.
Second,
Add it between number 8 and number 9. Is that
Sure.
okay?
or would it be 10C?
Is it new business?
It would be boards or commissions.
It's usually boards and
Okay.
commissions. Okay. You want to go between 8 and 9?
Between 8 and 9.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to add that? Nope.
We have
I
a,
made
we have
motion,
a second.
yes.
yeah.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Item number 4, approval of minutes of a regular Board of Selectmen's meeting from October 7th.
Move that we approve the minutes from October 7th.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Troy. Any discussion, additions, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous? Moving on to item number 5, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes and may speak only once. Please give your name and address.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Heffernan McGlynn. I'm from 61 Wetmore Avenue. My husband Sean and I own Second Home Lounge on Main Street. I'm also a member of WOW, Women Business Owners of Winstead. A number of our members are here today. I'm here on behalf of my husband, myself, as well as WOW. My husband and I moved here almost 10 years ago. I served as an elected member of the Board of Ed for 6 years. In 2019, we decided to invest fully in this town by purchasing a building on Main Street to put Second Home in the first floor. We invested a tremendous amount of money, time, and physical labor to create Second Home. We did not receive any financial assistance from the town, nor did we seek any. We did, however, receive a lot of encouragement, moral support from Bob Geiger, the former town manager, and other members of the leadership of this town, including the Economic Development Committee and town leaders. We decided to do this project in Winstead because we felt that it has become our home and that Winstead was looking up and businesses were coming in. It seemed like a good investment. Unfortunately, in the past year, we have seen a decrease in such support for businesses. This board's decision at the last meeting to use ARPA funds for upgrading the audio and furniture here was an example of that lack of support. Those funds were earmarked for businesses, and instead they're being used for something that is not within the Treasury Department's guidelines for ARPA funds. This demonstrates a clear lack of support for small businesses in this town. There are many businesses that have sought funds from the town for improvements or startup funds, were rejected or told there were no funds available from ARPA. Now there are, but according to the video I saw at the last meeting, which I had no difficulty hearing or seeing, it is the town manager's opinion that it would be difficult to pick a small business-related project over another, and therefore the option is to not do that. Instead, to use the funds in the manner chosen, wrongly in my mind. I took some time today to research those funds, how those funds could properly be used, and I did not see a legal use of the funds, the use the board chose at the last meeting. If it is determined that the renovation does not meet the law's requirements, then the funds will be recalled, resulting in a significant and unnecessary cost to our taxpayers. Proper uses include support for local businesses, investments to support long-term growth and opportunity, support for families, as well as investments in water, sewer, and broadband access. Nowhere in the literature that I reviewed did I see authorization for the type of project you approved. I did not even hear that concern raised at the meeting. Considering how difficult this year has been for local businesses and families, it does not seem appropriate for the Board of Selectmen to choose to spend $20,000 on unnecessary cosmetic upgrades to the town's meeting rooms. I strongly request that you reconsider this vote today and reach out to the business community. I understand there are businesses in town who have already submitted proposals that would use these funds in a timely manner. Put together a committee to review those and choose the ones that have the most impact for the town in the short order available. I understand the needs to have the funds obligated by 12/31/24. The Treasury Department defines an obligation as an order placed for property and services into a purchase order, contract, subaward, and similar transactions that require payment. Essentially, a signed legal commitment in which a public sector, the town, commits itself to pay for something. That is not the same as a completed project. Selectman Perez was correct at the last meeting that you could commit to payment of the money before the project is completed. If you choose your project or projects well, there should be no concern the business will not fulfill their obligations. The small businesses of this town deserve this board's support. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Jack?
Jack Bork, 78 Crown Street. Have we really come to this? Can't we respect each other's opinions without destroying personal property? For the past 2 weeks, 2 signs on my family's private property expressing our support for Harris Waltz were in place without incident. This weekend, these signs, which were personally paid for, were illegally taken off of my property. Have we, as a society, come to such a radical point where even the passive expression of a sign of political preference is purposefully destroyed by someone who opposes that opinion? Do we now live in a town where a different viewpoint, even a sign on a private property, can no longer be accepted? What is happening to us as neighbors and citizens when we can no longer peacefully discuss our differences without destroying what others have? The stealing of someone's plastic sign apparently is the new reality of how some of us can no longer tolerate differences, no longer accept individuality, and no longer endure diversity without becoming belligerent.
Thank you, Jack. Anyone else wish to speak? I urge your family member to file a police report if they have not filed a police report on the signs.
I'm sorry.
I urge your family to file a police report if they have not. It's unacceptable that signs are taken from private land. No one else wishes to speak? Moving on to item number 6, Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In no particular order, but it was an eventful, again, 2 weeks. To kick off the beginning, right after the last select meeting, we conducted a feasibility study meeting with both the Public Works and the PD. I'm happy to report that we pulled the trigger on the Public Works feasibility study, and we're waiting on different funding ideas for the PD. We're still looking at potential ways of unlocking that. I can tell you that the Public Works and PD garages both came in at about $50,000. We have been setting up capital accounts for the Public Works garage. PD is relatively something new, but Tom and I are looking for different funding mechanisms for the PD. The thought, and if you remember back a few weeks ago, I mentioned that we did have some officials from the state come in, and they thought that this would be an excellent state bonding source for at least our Public Works garage. So the timing couldn't work out any better because we'll be done with our feasibility. They'll be back in session in January. They'll start meeting as a bonding commission. So there may be potential state grants where we can finally unlock some of our Public Works garage and getting that done. We are looking at potentially doing it in sections. There are some sections over there that obviously need more work than others, and that have potentially the state come in and do the whole entire garage. I don't think is feasible, but breaking it off into sections may be a better way and more appealing to some grants. So hopefully we can get the Public Works garage activity going. And as far as the PD goes, we'll be looking at different ways of funding that. We did lock in the feasibility study company that their prices won't go up, even if we have to wait until the next budget year to get the feasibility study going on that, so the rates won't go up. So that was good news. Moving on, we did meet with the Emergency Management Director to discuss ongoing and future plans, finalizing our communication plan, which we will be talking about later in the agenda. And we also started the prep work of our Everbridge. In fact, today alone, I don't know if you got yours, but all of our administrators have been given access to at least start, and we'll start be gathering information, start putting our templates together. The goal is to hopefully roll out Everbridge to our community sometime in November, where we'll be looking for active subscriptions for people to sign up. And once we have that, we'll be able to obviously push messages out to as many people. And hopefully this is something we never need, but if we do need it, we'll have the tool available for us to reach out to our residents. Moving on, I did meet with our IT company for our yearly review. Happy to report that there are no significant insufficiencies in our IT services that they're providing. As you know, small municipalities and even small companies tend to be the ones they look at a little bit harder and try and get into, but we've been doing tests, and that we are passing our IT security tests. There'll be an affidavit that I'll need to sign probably at the end of the year to keep our cyber policy up. So met with them. One of the areas, and I know this board took action, is we discussed the plans for banners and all of the holiday decorations with the relevant teams. This year, the town, as if you remember back in the budget process, the town then moved that over to the Parks and Rec Department. So Tanny and I met, we looked at all the items that are in the Bank of America building, and we do have a plan of exactly when those decorations are going to go up and when they are gonna come down. We tend to, obviously want to take them down right after the holiday and not leave them up there, but we do have a plan, and we're gonna have the decorations up, obviously, in the right manner. So don't fret, we won't need any volunteers or anything like that. We will get the holiday decorations and the banners all up. Believe it or not, the items, when we looked at it at Bank of America, they're relatively in good shape. So appreciate whoever put them in there, that they look the way that they do. Moving on, Todd and I attended the Northwest, the COG event up at the Norbrook Brewery in Colebrook. I'll make a quick joke. It was very cold that day, so I guess that's why they call it Colebrook. But what an absolute great brewery. We did get to meet the owners. They took us on a tour. They aren't just looking to do any beer. They're looking to distill other liquors as well up there. But the most important thing that Todd and I got out of the COG event was that the COG was issued $280,000+ to disperse amongst the COG for a GIS system update. If you remember back, part of ARPA money, we had earmarked about $66,000. And this was prior to me getting here. This was, past administrations to update our town's GIS system. So I immediately made the motion to accept that grant. We don't know the exact funding source, but good news is that the whole $66,000 that this town was looking to spend won't need to spend the entire amount, because I'm gonna go to the COG for, well, the whole 66,000, see what they say, but we are gonna get some of that reimbursed by the COG, which ultimately came through the state of Connecticut. We did start to review the capital improvement plan for fiscal year '26. I know it shocked a few of our department heads that we have already started the budget process for next year. We really need to get a snapshot of what this is gonna look like and start putting together ideas and thoughts, and really our capital improvement plan. So right now is the initial meeting of, you know, what particular department heads we're looking at. One of the ideas that, you know, we've brought forward to our department heads is, before we start potentially any new projects, let's finish projects that we've started. No reason to keep, you know, trying to kick cans down the road, but there are projects that haven't been fully funded. Let's look at potentially funding those before we start new projects, because as things come together, we're not gonna be able to do it all at one time. So we've started the fiscal year '26 budget, met with the registrars to discuss the election and voter registration operations. As you know, early voting has begun officially today. Goes on for the next 2 weeks. The registrars and all of the workers that they have brought on, they were here Friday for a training, are going to have a tremendous lift. I can tell you that I came back from a meeting up in Torrington today. You couldn't even park at Town Hall. It was that busy. So early voting, at least in this town, has had tremendous responses, which is great to see. People are getting out and voting. And then we did bring in our town attorney. We had a pending legal matter with a property in town, but happy to resolve that it's been settled, and the owner of that property is moving forward with what they're supposed to do. The town's happy, and we're moving forward with that particular property. I did meet with the directors of the Torrington Area Health District and the board member, Bill Hudak. Great to hear that the Torrington Area Health District is very similar to the health district that I dealt with in my last town, which was North Central Health District. Something I want to put on everybody's radar, I'm going to use the opportunity I have right now. The state of Connecticut is changing the lead paint parameters of what levels of lead paint is acceptable in somebody's house. They're lowering the scale, which could kick off potentially more homeowners running into abatement issues of this particular house. But I learned that Connecticut Children's Medical Center, which is near and dear to, you know, my family's heart, has a tremendous program available to help those families remediate lead paint issues that they may have in their house. So although they may be given the, hey, you know, your windows or your walls may contain that lead paint, we're gonna have you know, vacate the house. Connecticut Children's Medical Center steps up and actually helps these families remediate these houses. So if you hear of any families that potentially, you know, are going through this lead paint issue, please get them in touch with Connecticut Children's, and they have money available to help these families remediate, where these families can get back into their house, you know, as quick as possible. I met again with the owner up at Highland Lake Marina. He is looking to go to planning and zoning in the not-so-distant future to expand his business over on, not the river, or on the lake side, but over on the road side of things. So he's been meeting with our groups down in the building office to put together a plan and get before planning and zoning before the end of the year for potentially zone changes and hopefully expand his business as well. We did talk with OpenGov. As you know, at the last meeting, we unlocked that software for our building office. We're fully engaged, and we should have that up and running sometime by the middle of November as well. As you may or may not have seen, we do have a brand new police cruiser in the back parking lot. We're looking to outfit that as quick as possible, and that cruiser will hit the road just as soon as we get it outfitted with cages and cameras and lights and all that stuff. So good to report that, you know, the capital investment that this town made back in, believe it or not, fiscal year '23, that purchase finally came through. It wasn't due to lack of, you know, no one placing the order. That's how backed up, you know, these cruisers were, and I know fire trucks, I know Arnie and I had a conversation earlier tonight, but it's in the back parking lot. We will get it outfitted, and we will get it on the streets as quick as possible. The superintendent was here for a meet and greet. She had a decent response. She had 2 different times, one in the morning and one at night. So our new superintendent came over, and of course I sat with her for a little bit with that. Most importantly, we began our initial conversation with the DOT in that Boyd Street and Route 263. That came up at our last meeting. I think I emailed all of you within a day or so. We did have our official DOT meeting. We are having another meeting on Thursday. I really said enough. It's time that we pull together all the ideas, we hold people accountable, and we fix this problem. I guess now learning more of the story, when that bridge flooded out, the bridge got moved, which created a little bit of the flooding. Some of it falls on the existing property owner up there. Some of it falls on the state DOT. Very little of it, fortunately, falls on the town, but we're obviously going to get the most complaints of it. So we are meeting again with more officials from DOT, more state representatives, to try and finally get this problem fixed. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money. But one thing we don't have is time or money, but we need to at least get a plan and need to get it rolling. One of the initial ideas that came up was potentially a dry well in that property. It's way too much water, especially when we open up the gates. A dry well will absolutely not. But again, no idea is a bad idea, I think, initially, to try and solve it, but everything's going up on the grease board, and hopefully we get a solution, and we obviously get a funding source, and we can finally fix that road from flooding when those gates open up or the lakes gets too high. A lot of things dealing with assessment appeals still. Had a few homeowners come in about their assessment that they appealed last year. Working through all of that, which was a strange one, but needless to say, you know, we're gonna go back out to the appeals process in not so much time, another year, we'll be back out to do the appeals. And then Friday, last week, Crystal Lake in Wallens Hill, all of the water stuff that we have been doing, I'm happy to report that the project's moving along. Should be completed in the not-so-distant future. There is a few pending change orders that me and the team need to sit down and talk about. They're substantial in price. Not substantial in price when you look at the total project, but also happy to report there was a little bit of issues with DPH getting their paperwork submitted to them, so we were withholding payment. Happy to report on Friday that we are okay with issuing payment because DPH does have the paperwork that they ultimately need in order to sign off. So it's our only mechanism to make sure we check boxes with Department of Public Health. Friday's meeting was a good one, and we're able to move forward with the contractor and issue almost a $1.5 million payment to them, and work's going to continue up there. And finally, we talked about it at our last meeting. Happy to report the clerk of the works position for roadway infrastructure has been posted on several different municipality websites and also on our town's website. So we'll be looking to hopefully fill that position, which, if you remember, that's going to help us continue these projects on the roads and get more shovels in the ground and get the engineering work and all of that stuff done. So it's just another set of hands down on our public works garage, but their sole focus will be on roadway infrastructure and getting the bond money that was approved several years ago spent. So maybe we can come back and potentially do another bond in the not-so-distant future, because I want those projects, and I'm sure all of you want all those projects unlocked so we can move on to the next. With that, I will open it up for questions, Mr. Mayor.
Questions from the board? Thank you, Paul.
Let's take it easy on me tonight.
Moving on to item number 7, Finance Director's Report.
Get my specs, hang on.
Hi, Anne Marie.
Hi.
Good evening. These are the results for September 30th of 2024. We are 3 months into the year. 25% of the fiscal year is now complete. Thank you to our residents for paying your tax bills on time. Current year property taxes, $14,273,981. We are at 52.19% of budgeted revenue for that line item, compared to 14,839,094 for the same period last year, which was 55.83%. Past due tax collections for the current year to date, 125,775. That is 20.96% of the budget for the current year, in comparison to 115,267 for the same period last year, which was 38.42%. Total revenues year to date, 15,181,618, which is 37.2%, compared to 16,042,771, which was 40.99%. Total expenditures year to date, 9,012,171, 28.85% of budget. That compares to 29.57% for the same period last year of 9,256,119. In the month of September, we did not receive any municipal aid related to the general fund from the state of Connecticut. We also did receive notification that there will not be any supplemental revenue sharing coming to the town of Winchester. That is a line item that we do not budget for, just so everyone is aware. But it did relate to, I think, over $200,000 in last year's budget that we took in that we won't get this year because I guess there's no funds available.
And just to clarify, every municipality won't be receiving it.
Correct.
You said town of I just wanted
Well,
to-
yeah, we won't be
So
getting
we-
it, but no one will be getting
no
it
one will
because
be
there's no
getting it.
funds available
There's no
through the
funds
state of
available.
Connecticut.
Yeah, so.
September 30th cash flow, we are at 12,889,776. Of that balance, 7,154,437 is invested. 452,000 and change in the Northwest Community Sweep account. 2,473,677 in STIF, and 4,228,486 in our Northwest Community Bank money market account. We had a long list of capital expenditures in the month of September. $80,000, a little over that, for Case Avenue. I believe that might have been close to a final payment for that project. $118,854 on our regular annual road maintenance. $6,050 for Communities Challenge Mural Project. $67,789 of asset management software. That is a split between general fund, capital projects, or not general fund, sorry, Public Works capitals, ARPA funds, no, bond funds, sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about tonight, and sewer and water are all sharing the cost of that asset management software. $3,401 for Chapel and Dayton Road. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are all bond related projects. $471,934 on the Elm Street project. $23,313 for Upland Road, $141,222 for Hannafin Road, $131,527 for Hubbard Street, $2,948 on sidewalk work, $59,344 on Old Colebrook Road, and $108,313 on Indian Meadow Drive. All of those that I mentioned from Elm Street down to Indian Meadow, those are all roads being worked on from the bond project. We had $28,670 spent on senior center roof, and then $210,350 was paid out for the Pearson boiler replacement project. Questions?
Any board members with questions? Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thanks, Anne Marie.
Moving on to item number 8, correspondence. Does anyone have anything? Moving on to the emergency appointment, or the urgent appointment for the Housing Authority.
I thank the board for adding this to the agenda. It was brought to my attention late last week. We have a vacancy on the Housing Authority. Linda Grappo, who is now serving graciously with us, she can no longer serve on the Housing Authority. State statute actually prevents it. With her coming off of that board, it's created a little bit of a, we have 2 board members, unfortunately, that can't attend because they are ill, and they're not meeting a quorum. So no business can be conducted for the Housing Authority without a quorum. So I asked this board tonight, Candace Bouchard did put her name forward. I believe that came in on 10/8. I'm pretty sure that the committee that goes through it, obviously, I think you all know Candace, the vetting process. She was a first selectman, chairman of the Charter Revision, Friends of Main Street. I asked that the board puts her forward to serve as the Housing Authority seat that became vacant, so this board can continue to meet and actually do the business at hand. I did talk to our town attorney as well. I know you guys did set a policy. At any time, this board can make an appointment to a board or commission if it feels necessary to do.
So this was brought up last meeting over the same kind of situation, and it was point blankly made clear that we have a process, and the process has to be, it's only a two-step process, and that's how it's got to be done. So,
However, I did see in the new review process that there's a part that allows for the expeditious process, for an expedient process when a volunteer has been vetted previously.
This would be an emergency appointment as our
well,
next meeting
that's
is
what
next
was
week.
going to be last time.
Yeah, their next meeting is, I believe, next week. This
It's-
would be an emergency appointment,
Yeah.
is what, and that's why I asked for this to come up tonight. I know, quorums, and I respect, what this board did, when we changed up the rules, but this is something that is extraordinary because this commission or this authority simply can't conduct the business without having a quorum.
There are only 5 members on that board. There are 2 vacancies right now. They can't function without
They
another
can't conduct
person
business.
there.
I don't remember us having an emergency appointment before, Troy.
Well, not
I
an
know that we,
emergency appointment, but it's,
I know that we've wanted to hold pretty standard to that procedure, to that process.
right.
But this is an emergency appointment because the board is unable to do any business until, so,
Yeah, I think these are extenuating circumstances here.
It wouldn't be before you guys tonight, group tonight, if I didn't think it was an extenuating circumstance where, a lot of people rely on housing authority. This is one of our population group where I need this board to continue to do business. If there happens to be an emergency appropriation or something, this board can't conduct the business. They can't vote. I know we had the appointment at the last meeting, and I know our rules came into play, and it was the park department. Their board's meeting, they're great,
Understood.
but this one's a little bit
But
different.
it wasn't a matter of who or what board it was a point of, and it was by the person that's not here tonight, very clear that we cannot, alter from our 2-point thing.
apparently we have the ability to do it.
You do
We have the ability to do it, and the decision
Per the
is.
town attorney, you have the ability
Right.
to do it. And I just asked, I know, I wouldn't come before you all tonight, knowing what went on at the last meeting, if I didn't feel the importance of seating an individual so this commission can, or authority, can continue to meet. I wouldn't do that, but because of the importance of this authority and them not having a quorum, it's why I'm here tonight. Almost on bended knee, I guess, because, we gotta keep things moving.
I'll make a motion to put Candace Bouchard on the Housing Authority Board of Directors.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 5-1.
Thank you.
Appointment is successful.
Thank you all.
And I'd also like to state, since we're on boards and commissions, that they're not on here, and we do have an appointment to make tonight from an alternate to a full-time position for the zoning commission,
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning.
I
Is it an emergency appointment or no?
No, it's not an emergency, but he doesn't, it's a automatic,
Never made it on the agenda.
move from, alternate to a full-time permanent seat.
Well, it's permanent, not seated member of the design.
Right.
A couple weeks ago.
So I don't know why that was, missing, but I'm gonna make a motion that, and you're gonna have to help me, Pete, on his last name.
Adam Quagliaroli.
Quaglioli. Make a motion that Adam Quaglioli, takes a, full-time position, from his alternate position on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Hold on, just so we check every box, imaginable, can we first get the board to motion this as an agenda item?
Okay?
Because because we've added, you know, when we
It's
added the
always an
appointment.
agenda item, I was
So
just
I know
listening.
it's gonna sound, you know, because when I had requested the motion, it was to talk about housing authority. So I'd rather just check every box, especially when we're talking planning and zoning and you could be brought into courts. That was it done, Pete's laughing at me. Planning and zoning, that, I'd rather just do it correctly, so if a board member could please
So, but
motion to add the agenda on it, and then we can discuss it.
So moved. Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Troy. Discussion.
Well, discussion to add it to the agenda item, and then you can go into it.
Correct.
So take the motion, or take the vote on adding it to the agenda.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Okay. Now we can talk about it.
So, the alternate, this person you're speaking of, if they had a meeting tomorrow, would serve, because the alternate would be seated
Correct.
at each meeting. And my thinking is, this is not an emergency appointment, and rather than us,
Well, it doesn't have, the person doesn't have to be vetted, they're already on the commission, that's why it automatically.
we have nothing in
carried
front of
over.
us, though, that tells us who
I
it
know, I don't
is.
know
You
why.
can't even pronounce their name. My thinking is, since they are,
Last name.
since the person is able to serve as an alternate, let's make sure we have all of the proper documentation in front of us for the next meeting, and then we can make this appointment.
I'm sorry, sorry, I was just talking to our town clerk.
I just don't want to do
Glenn
this
has,
blindly.
I have not received any of the paperwork, it hasn't, so Glenn was planning on bringing it to the next meeting. I don't think we're gonna run into any issues. You guys are meeting next Monday, I think I'm coming to your meeting. That individual as the alternate will be, as chair, you'll be able to seat him. Okay, and you'll be able to seat any of those alternates as a full member for that night. The board's pleasure, I'm just, came out of left field on that one, so I wasn't prepared for that one.
Well,
So-
we got the applications last week, I believe.
Yeah.
You sent those out, right? For
Oh,
for
we got
Adam.
it before the meet, way before, the
I send the
cutoff.
vetting committee what the vetting committee
Right.
asked for.
Yeah,
Beyond that.
Yeah, we got that,
it's Up to you guys, but my thought was it would come up at the next boards and commission meeting.
Well, you normally don't have to vet a person that's already on the board, that's why. Normally. I mean, I got moved from an alternate to a full-time position before I became a selectman, and it was the next meeting, it was not,
That's not my call.
Well, I mean, the first question would be, you have 3 alternates. We've just heard, is this the next alternate in line?
It's the only one that's gonna take
Right,
it,
I mean,
and yes.
It doesn't sound like it's a difficult appointment. My only thing is, we don't have the person's name, we don't have anything in front of us that we're voting on, and I think it'd be nice to have it all the details before we voted on it. And since they can operate with him as an alternate, putting it off to the next meeting when we have everything seems reasonable to me, but that's just my opinion.
Anyone else on the board?
I think that's fine. We could wait till the next meeting. Somebody can sit in that spot, and that's the important thing. The housing was an emergency, so I'm okay with waiting.
So Pete, even without an appointment, you guys are gonna seat him next meeting anyway, correct? As an alternate.
Someone will be seated, depending on who the chairman decides to seat.
All right, I'll rescind my motion then. It wasn't seconded anyways.
Well, you don't know, because we retracted that because we added it to the agenda, so I don't think I even have to rescind the motion, because we got in a discussion and no motion was made, so I think you're good.
This whole situation clearly is not set
I think,
correctly here, so.
well, and I think if we went down the road, and just my opinion, I think if we went down the road of potentially doing that, then we're really throwing out what this board worked hard on to redo the process. The earlier appointment was an extenuating circumstance. It was an emergency that needed to be handled. I think, with this individual, there's 3 alternates. That commission's gonna be able to meet, be able to conduct the business at hand. I know there's an important meeting next Monday night. I'm not hearing from the vice chair, right? That it's an emergency that we get this done. I know it's an emergency at the housing authority, because they literally could not conduct
Because
business
there's 2 contracts that need to be approved.
at next
One
meeting.
of which is for the elevator rehab.
Yep.
My guess is it's gonna sail through at the next meeting, but it'd be nice to have the person's name that we can actually pronounce and know who they are before we vote on it.
Even if I have the name written for me, I don't know if I can pronounce it.
Well, at least we can all read it.
Yeah,
When
you can read
when
it.
you mess it up, when you blow it up next month, we can all at least read it. That's how you pronounce that, Troy?
Yes. Thanks, Pete.
And I guess for the record, just not to help Troy out a little bit, that family does have ties to the town I used to run. I still can't pronounce the name either, so don't feel
Thank
bad.
you. Okay, let's move along.
Moving on to item 9, unfinished business. Section A, 24-45A. Consider and possibly act on the adoption of an ordinance to create tax abatement for volunteer firefighters and volunteer emergency medical services. This is the second of 3 meetings.
I move that the Board of Selectmen formally acknowledge their consideration of adopting the newly proposed ordinance and further consider it in a second instance at the next regular meeting on October 21st.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Troy. Any discussion? Seeing none, do we need to vote to send it to third
You
meeting?
do have to vote. I learned it at the last meeting, because I'm still learning, so you do need to vote to send it to the third meeting.
And can we have all in favor of sending it to the third meeting? Unanimous? Moving on to item 10, new business. Item A, review emergency communications plan. Town Manager Harrington.
So I did submit that to all of you. It is something that Steve Williams, our emergency management director, and I have worked on. I did want you all to take a look at it. We don't necessarily need to take any action. If you want to take some time, digest it, come back with anything that you may have felt that we left out or should be added. If you know something tonight, please, by all means, let me know. But I think it was important that when we lost water in the town, we were kind of caught with, what do we do, where do we go, who do we notify? What this does is it gives us a pretty good checklist of items. This was already in existence in the town. We have updated it with the newest technology, including the Everbridge technology, which obviously this board unlocked recently. But really, I wasn't looking for any action, no actions needed. I was just looking for more or less input. And again, if you want more time, I don't know if some of you just gotten it on Friday and you want more time to digest it, you can call me, you can email me some of your thoughts, but this is what Steve and I have been working on, so that we have a checklist of what do we do in terms of communicating with our residents during emergencies and disasters.
So Paul, we're moving along with the new communication method, right?
Yep.
And is that on, I'm not seeing that in the communication methods, that's been listed here.
So if you go down to,
Number 5, Everbridge.
Oh, Everbridge,
yeah, we buried it in there.
you did a nice job.
We
Thank
buried
you.
it in there.
No,
I
that's
wanted to make
great.
sure you read, yeah.
Yep. You couldn't find it either.
Um,
And you wrote it.
Yeah, I know.
And we're online with that, Paul, right now?
No, we're not, no, so if you go back to my town manager's report, our authorized users just gained access today.
Okay.
So we'll be bringing in Everbridge for meetings on how to deploy the software, all of that stuff. I did put the policy that was in your packet last meeting or whenever we approved Everbridge. That's an official town policy now, when we use Everbridge and who uses it and getting messages approved and all of that. We're obviously not ready, but the goal is to definitely have it out there sometime in November, December, and start getting those subscriptions. So we're in the process of learning this system. And everybody's excited about it. So it's good. But again, take a look at it, even if it's a week from now, 2 weeks from now, if you think we've left something out, we need to add something, by all means, reach out and we'll get it in, because I think it's important. A lot of things I learned during that water issue we had a few weeks back, ways of communicating with staff, including myself emailing just this board alone, letting you guys know what's going on, is important as well, because you guys are a face of the community, and a lot of residents will be looking for you for answers, and you need to have as much information readily available so that you're not caught flat-footed when a resident comes up to you.
We appreciate that.
I learned.
Moving on to item B, 24-48, refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenues.
I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the refunds recommended by the Collector of Revenue in the amount of $810.23.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Moving on to item number 11, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes and may speak once this round. Anyone like to speak? Come on up.
Hello. I am Annie Q for Quagliaroli. It's my last and my maiden name.
Oh, really?
From Windsor Locks,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, Annie Q. Samard. I live at 404 East Wakefield Boulevard, and I am part of the Women Business Owners of Winstead. And I wanted just to have the opportunity to speak to you and tell you what we've been up to as a group. And I had to apologize to Paul because I didn't give you an update, and you presented something that has been updated. So we have, as a group, started with some very small, simple projects in our town to show investment in the town, some skin in the game, if you will. We took over the plantings on the sign coming into town. We did a spring sweep. We brought back the maps that we distributed and had an all-time high number of businesses invest in that map and get put on the map. We also sent out a letter and spoke to different businesses about having them involved in the autumn festival. We spoke to Tanya in the rec department, and we're going to take over decorating for the holidays. And we have a member who is donating all of the decorations for us to do that. We are hoping to get somebody who hangs flags, perhaps, to help us with some of the bigger trees. But we have done that. I did speak with Tanya, and we really are excited to be a part of that and to involve businesses in that, on that evening when we have the tree lighting and all the kids are there caroling. We think it would be a great evening for our businesses to also celebrate and have offerings, whether it's hot chocolate or just sales or whatever. The businesses said this year at the Autumn Festival was the best they've ever done. They couldn't believe how great it was for them. And I myself walked down that street, and it was the first one that I went to, and I just thought it was great. I was so proud of like how well planned it was, and so I didn't update you on that, and I should.
Yeah, that
I
one happened
should
quick,
have.
because I think we just,
Yeah.
and I apologize to step on your public, but that's great news.
Yes,
Tanya and I
yes.
met with somebody from Friends of Main Street
Yeah.
last week, and then you guys must have
Yeah,
met
yeah,
between the
yeah.
last couple of days. You're all moving quick behind the scenes. I like
Well,
it.
we are, and, we're trying to do some of these little things, because we are also, I did talk to you, Paul, about, I have applied for our group for, with Connecticut, Main Street, an accelerator program. And we submitted a application for speed cameras on our street. Whether or not we're gonna get accepted, I'm not sure. I had my first interview last Friday, and she told me she'll be calling me again this week. I spoke with the police chief, I spoke with Paul Harrington. The town has been more than supportive of our group taking on and being the boots on the ground. We're not looking for kudos, we're looking to be minions and to, a bunch of very motivated women. So, so that's what we're gonna do. And if it's not gonna happen through CT Main Street, and there's a couple really cool opportunities for this, then we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you on that, because it's a passion project of our group. It literally is the fundamental project of our group, is to support the town in doing something about the problem with Main Street. And there are several good things that we're finding out as we dig into this whole situation that work in our favor. You know, statutes that have been passed to allow this on state highways. Companies that are willing to buy the cameras and take a royalty of the tickets rather than us having to, invest money up front. And then Cheryl also found that $700,000 grant that was given to West Hartford for 15 cameras, which seems extreme, but 15 cameras in West Hartford. So I've submitted all of that to CT Main Street for the accelerator program. And I don't know, I just want you to know that there's a lot of businesses owned by women in this town. A lot, a huge percentage. And we're working, whether it's physically working, whether it's talking it up, whether it's going around and talking to each other. And we really want to support the town. And I just wanted to say that to you. I want to establish a good relationship with all of the boards in our town and all of the, upper echelon of our town. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you. That, I just walk away.
Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, moving on to selectmen's comments and reports. Anyone have anything?
The only thing I had is, that I wanted to bring up again is we really need to do something about the parking on Main Street for our businesses. I don't know if it's something we need to look into, like another traffic girl or something to that, if a meter maid. There seems to be a lot of people parking on Main Street for the whole duration of the day in front of businesses. Then they're creating a problem where they're not parking, even if we did something like put lines up so it shows where a car could actually park, because they're making it so you're losing spaces because they're parking screwed up. So I know we have an ordinance. I spoke with the town manager on that. I think that's something that we really should sink our teeth into to help our business, especially with winter coming, when it's hard to get access to the business through the snow piles anyway. Maybe speak with our restaurants, ask them to, have their employees park across the street. The landlords have them park across the street. And if it doesn't work, then maybe a meter maid is the way to go, or they could start ticketing the people that are in violation.
Yeah, Paul, I had a couple business owners from Antique Row come up to me last week, same thing. They have people that pull up 7 o'clock in the morning and 4 in the afternoon, the cars are still there.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's
We do have an ordinance, obviously, as Selectman Lemire mentioned, so I think we may have to enforce it a little bit more. So let me have a conversation with our chief and go from there. But I'm on it, and maybe the answer is a meter maid. I know some of the bigger cities are employing that. I wrestle, and maybe something to just throw out, and y'all can think about it. Do you go to a very inexpensive meter, meaning 25 cents an hour or something like that, where it's credit card, and I don't know what the answer is, but obviously we care about our businesses on Main Street. It's going to be difficult for the next 2 weeks, because I know personally, when I came back from Torrington today, because of early voting going on here at Town Hall, it was jammed up here. I had a hard time finding it. I know you're right up the street.
Well, even I noticed today, I was wondering what was going on. I didn't realize that there was
Early voting.
But it was like both sides of the street.
It was both sides of the street.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people came in today. Today was the first day of early voting, and hundreds of people came in today. I happened to come back from Torrington, I think, shortly right after the 10 o'clock hour when it started, and it was packed. And I was parked way in the back, but I'll find a spot. But I'm more worried about the businesses because I know where I'm coming, but if somebody can't find a spot, that means they're not coming to grab something to eat or go shopping. So I get it. So we do have to address it. It was on my radar today because I couldn't find a spot. You know when it personally affects somebody, right? You really got to get, but no, I'm on it, and I will have a conversation with the chief for sure.
You know, when you mentioned West Hartford and Torrington, both of those cities maintain meters.
Yes.
And charge to park on the street.
Yep.
And limit the time, and
Yep.
I don't know what the revenue opportunity is there either, but maybe that's how we have to enforce it and keep cars rotating through here. And oh, by the way, if it kicked a little revenue in, that wouldn't be terrible either.
Wasn't it true that her, the tickets that she wrote paid her salary?
That's what, yeah.
That I don't know. I can look into it. First I'm hearing it is tonight that we actually at one time had a meter person. So I want to look into that.
I loved having her there because she would mark everybody's tires.
They mark with chalk. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you
Yep.
had to, you knew that you had to move.
Yep.
Because these people are not moving.
Yep.
We had a tractor trailer that was on the road across from you for 2 weeks. And we called on it, and we were told, well, we don't know if when they came back. Well, it's been in the same spot.
So tractor trailers are interesting. Coming soon to a Board of Selectmen meeting near you. I've done a little research on tractor trailers and even tractor trailers parked in residential zones. Coming soon to a Board of Selectmen meeting that currently we do not have an ordinance that discusses tractor trailers. So they are able to park in residential areas, but we need to address that. So that will be coming to a Board of Selectmen meeting in the not so distant future. Lines, it's going to be a struggle, because as we know, who owns that road? But something we can look at. I don't want to say no, but I know who we have to call for the lines. But the meter is, I was down in Norwalk, and I had to keep going back and feeding the meter. So it is a revenue. And we're not talking a lot. I think it was $1 for 2 hours.
Where was that, in Norwalk?
In Norwalk, Connecticut, yeah.
And then you don't have an app on your phone, you can just reload the meter
Yeah.
in Norwalk?
No, I don't think they did.
Most meters have apps now where
Really?
you pay for it with the
I
app.
got enough
yeah.
apps on my phone.
But you also still need a meter maid to
Oh, yeah.
monitor that.
Yeah. Well,
So, a meter maid's the cheaper way out.
Yeah,
the fun,
City of Hartford has a service, and
yeah, the fun part
Gouge
with
the town.
these meter persons, I don't like the word meter maid. I don't know. I'm gonna call them meter person. Parking enforcement.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. Just doesn't sound right. It alerts them when a particular, because you type in your license plate and alerts them that that particular car has expired, and it engages the person to go out and do it. So we got to look at it, but
So what would the cost of installing a meter be?
Lot of money.
yeah, because you got to think
Yeah.
it's got to take credit cards,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because nobody carries cash. It does take quarters, but I don't. And
I wouldn't be surprised.
Anymore, you do the regional meters, you know.
Yeah. And
yeah, the regional boxes, exactly.
And I
Yep.
wouldn't be surprised if the companies that do those have a revenue share
They could.
deal where they'll supply them and
Something to look into.
Well, that's the new game with the speed cameras too. They come in and they're like, oh, we're gonna give you 75 speed cameras too.
By the way,
We'll just
ladies,
take-
I have
we'll
a
just take
line painter.
75% of the revenue. We'll install them
We
free.
can do that.
any other selectmen's comments?
I just got one more, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to apologize to the town on the flags, the status of the flags. I really was hoping that we could make it to Veterans Day, and it's not going to happen. I will be removing the flags tomorrow, and I apologize for their state, but it's a huge project to manage, and they've already been replaced a couple of times this year, and you know, the money involved and stuff. So. But we're working on a plan to make sure that doesn't happen again, so, thank you.
Thank you, Troy. Just a reminder, this coming Saturday, the 26th, the Recreation Department's trunk or treat at the ball fields, 5:30 to 7:30, I believe. With that,
I'm bringing my kids, so please don't judge me. My kids are young, they love candy, so my kids will be up here for trunk or treat this weekend.
Make a motion to adjourn?
second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween and all that stuff.
you did
Don't
good.
eat too much candy, because
All right, you're all not getting off the hook now.